Hey guys, the character Jay now just has a banner and maybe some people wanna pull for him, so we're gonna go over how to play this guy right now. What he's all about, the most important thing that you have to know is that you want to, with Jay, inflict as many burn stacks as you possibly can, as fast as possible. Because the more burn stacks are inflicted up upon Jay, the more damage he will do in total. There's one important thing to notice, and that is that if you are, at the start of the round, are below 50% HP, you not only do dispel all debuffs except for burn from yourself, but you grant yourself plus 20% critical hit rate. That is why you want to play Jay not together with someone, not necessarily together with someone who heals, but who provides shields, like Kiparina, like Mrs. Bubble, for example. More to that in just a second. Now you have to figure out how you apply these burn stacks up upon yourself. And that is that you have to apply burn to the enemies first. And now, whenever you would attack someone, an enemy that has burn stacks inflicted up upon him, you get the same amount of burn stacks inflicted up upon yourself. Okay. That's why you would think that you would want to pair Jay together with characters that inflict burn. The bummer about this is that all the characters available in this game currently that would be able to inflict burn are pretty bad. So you are better off using other examples, like for example Flutterpage, but we will talk about team building a little bit later on. Now let's first of all go over his incantations. He's all about his counter incantation. You want to have this active. That's how you apply a shield to all of your allies. And whenever an ally that has a shield attached to them would now be attacked, then Jay would counter attack with a mass attack that inflicts burn onto all enemies. That is exactly what we want to do, right? Additionally, he has a debuff incantation. His incantation number 2, you attack one enemy and you inflict 2 stacks of burn. That is also always what you want to do. You want to inflict as many stacks of burn onto just one target. Then you want to attack this target to apply those burn stacks to yourself to increase your damage. And that's really all about there is to say about Jay. Let's talk about his ultimate real quick, because you, as I said, want to stack burn stacks up upon just one target as much as you can. You want to have this target with the most amount of burn stacks applied to them as the main target when you use your ultimate, because for each stack on the main target of burn, you deal an additional 10% reality damage with your ultimate. Alright. Now, let's go over some examples as to who to play Jay with, because that is really the most important part when it comes to play Jay, are his teammates. Jay's partners in crime are Mrs. Bubble, because she inflicts a huge amount of shields, AP free. Now Kiparina does the exact same. You get a huge amount of shield just completely for free without using up AP, and Kiparina's shields also increase the critical hit rate even further, right? Jay is about critting, and as I said, if you are below 50% HP with Jay at the start of the round, you gain an increased crit rate by 20%. And that is all that matters. You pair Jay together with characters like Mrs. Bubble, like Kiparina, together with characters that apply shields, so that Jay actually uses his counter frequently, like pretty much every single time one of your teammates is attacked. You want Jay to counter attack. Alright, then that leaves like 1 or 2 spots open, and how you fill these slots, that really doesn't matter. You could of course use characters like Isolde that inflicts burn, but I would recommend you, if you want to do that, to wait for version 3.2 and for Isolde to receive a Euphoria update. Otherwise, as I said already again, all the characters that are available in this game that inflict burn are too bad. You would be better off using other characters, like for example Mercuria, for this very simple reason that she gives you more crit rate, plus 20% crit rate with an incantation. Perfect, right? And yeah, as I said, you don't want to necessarily pair him together with characters that heal, because you want to play around the 50% HP threshold. But of course you could pair him with whatever healer you like. Basically, you could use Sotheby or you could use Fatutu, right? Any healer that you want. Carcania is another very good example to pair together with Jay. What you truly need, what you truly need, that is either Mrs. Bubble or Kiparina or both. And then yeah, you can, for the time being, use pretty much whatever the fuck you want and you will be fine. Another good example is Flutterpage, because the counters that Jay does and the shield providing that Mrs. Bubble does, they count as follow-up attacks. And yeah, that leads to Flutterpage following up on these follow-up attacks, right? So you can really get creative as to what you pair Jay with. All you need is Mrs. Bubble and or Kiparina. Cool. With all of that out of the way, let's jump into battle real quick. Here we are. So we want to inflict burn upon our enemies so that we ourselves get also burned with as many stacks as possible. And how do we do this? That is very, very simple. We simply attack our enemies with J as much as possible. So we want to do this, right? Yeah, in my example here I'm using Flutterpage, so I will grant myself plus 1 AP. And then I use Jay's debuff incantation. I use the attacks all upon the same enemy, so that I inflict as many stacks of burn upon one enemy as fast as possible and as much as possible. You do not want to spread out your stacks of burn, because remember, whenever you would attack an enemy that has burn stacks on them, you inflict the same amount of burn stacks upon yourself. So stack burn upon one enemy as much as you possibly can. You do this by using your debuff incantation first, right? But even more important is that you have your counter incantation active at all times. And yeah, you also have a character like Kiparina, like Mrs. Bubble, that spreads shields, because as you just saw, that whenever one of our opponents is attacked that has a shield on them, then Jay would counter attack with a mass attack, and that mass attack also inflicts stacks of burn. And that's really all about there is to say about Jay. Remember that at the start of, if you are below 50% HP, at the start of the round you grant yourself plus 20% critical hit rate. We just did that, right? We can check this. Critical hit rate plus 5. Here, critical hit rate plus 20%. Okay, now we can, for example, use an incantation with Mercuria that would grant us additional crit rate, right? So we're gonna do that. Then we inflict burn upon our opponents, and we want to keep our counter active at all times. So you want to actually reroll to have that counter incantation as much as possible at your disposal. So keep that in mind. In my example right here, I don't have it, since I have to test this in a series of tasks, because I do not want to upgrade Jay. I cannot reroll, so I have to roll with it, right? What you're gonna do then is, play your team. Here, apply shields, apply your AP plus 1 with Flutterpage, right? Whoever you pair together with Jay, you have to play them then, right? I mean, that explains itself, kind of. But you get the point. Use this debuff incantation to apply burn. have his counter incantation up at all times. See that you always have a shield active on all of your allies, so you actually counterattack. See that you do not necessarily spread the burn up across all of your enemies, but have one enemy with as many burn stacks as possible. Then, yeah, his ultimate, you always want to focus the enemy with as many burn stacks as possible afflicted to him, because you will then deal additional damage. As you can see, this attack deals additional reality damage, 10%, based upon how many stacks of burns are applied to the main target. And that's really all about it. Keep his counter incantation alive, inflict burn through his debuff incantation, and yeah, with his ultimate you focus the guy that has as many burn stacks as possible afflicted up upon him. So a good thing is that before you use your ultimate, you actually use your debuff incantation to afflict additional burn, right? And yeah, that's already about it. It's really easy and really straightforward. And when it comes to how to play Jay, it is more like how you build your team, and not even really that, because all you need is one character that applies shields, like Mrs. Bubble, like Hibbarina, and then the fourth member, as we talked about earlier, doesn't really matter. That's it about Jay, guys. I hope that was fun and informative. If you like Reverse1999 content in general, please consider leaving a follow on my channel. I would really appreciate it. But until next time, take care of yourselves, have a great day, and we love this game.